We are raised to believe that kindness is the highest virtue. That being warm, forgiving, and endlessly understanding is the mark of a good person. But here's the cold truth: too much warmth can burn you alive. There's a dangerous illusion in thinking that being kind will guarantee respect. It doesn't. In fact, the more emotionally available you are, the more people start to treat your energy as a free resource. Something they can take, consume, drain, without ever refueling it. They stop asking if you're okay. They stop noticing when you're breaking. Because your kindness has taught them one thing: you'll never say no. But real strength isn't in always being available. Real power is in knowing when to shut the door. You were not born to be everyone's emotional caretaker. You are not the safe haven for people who burn their own bridges. And most importantly, you do not have to keep sacrificing your peace to prove that you're good. Because when kindness becomes unconditional, it stops being noble, and becomes naive. The truth is, not everyone deserves your warmth. Not everyone has earned your vulnerability. And not everyone has the right to access your heart just because they share your last name, your blood, or your memories. Being cold-blooded doesn't mean you're cruel. It means you've learned to protect yourself. You've learned that some people only show up when they need something. That love can be a manipulation. That "I care about you" often means "I care about what you give me." And so you choose to become cold, not because you hate them, but because you finally love yourself enough to stop bleeding for people who would never do the same. Carl Jung once said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. And sometimes, that absurdity looks like demanding your love, your time, your energy, while refusing to give anything real in return. So you stop. You detach. You step back. Not because you don't feel, but because you finally understand that your warmth is sacred, and you will no longer give it to those who only know how to take. Let them call you cold. Let them call you distant. Let them misunderstand. Because in your coldness, there is clarity. In your silence, there is power. And in your restraint, there is rebirth. The world will tell you that being detached is cold, broken, or heartless. But they only say that because your detachment makes you harder to control. Let's be clear, emotional detachment is not the absence of feeling. It's the mastery of it. It's the moment you stop reacting to every guilt trip, every accusation, every subtle manipulation disguised as concern. You're no longer a puppet pulled by emotional strings. You've cut the cords, one by one, until the only force moving you is your own will. Because when you live fully emotionally entangled, everything hurts more than it should. A word becomes a wound. A look becomes a war. You start walking on eggshells in your own life, all to avoid upsetting people who benefit from your submission. And that's exactly why you must learn detachment. To protect your mission. To protect your mind. To protect your identity. Even from the people who claim to love you. Especially from them. Sometimes the ones closest to you are the most invested in keeping you small. Not out of malice, but out of fear. Because your growth threatens their comfort. Your boundaries expose their lack of discipline. Your evolution makes their stagnation harder to ignore. And when you no longer react, when you stop explaining yourself, when your silence replaces your apologies, you become dangerous. Not because you've changed into something dark, but because you've finally become untouchable. Carl Jung taught that individuation, the process of becoming whole, often requires withdrawal from the collective expectations. From the roles you've been given. From the emotional traps you've been conditioned to fall into. Detachment is not disconnection, it's elevation. You rise above the noise. You no longer need to prove, defend, or justify your choices. They can call it cold. But to you, it's freedom. People will tell you that you've changed. That you're colder now. More distant. Less available. Good. Because the version of you they loved was the one they could manipulate. The one who said yes to everything just to keep the peace. The one who bent until you broke, and then apologized for breaking. But boundaries aren't walls, they're doors with locks. And you decide who gets a key. You don't owe unlimited access to your time, your energy, your soul, just because someone shares your blood or has a history with you. Respect is not automatic. It's earned. And just because they mean well doesn't mean they get to cross your lines. This is where the cold-blooded part begins. You stop explaining. You stop softening your tone to make others comfortable. You stop bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. Niccolò Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." That doesn't mean living in cruelty. It means not being afraid to prioritize your integrity over others' approval. Carl Jung would say, what they call coldness is often just the emergence of your true self, unchained from the persona you had to wear to survive. Because when you finally create a boundary, the people who benefited from your lack of it will call you selfish. They'll guilt you, shame you, weaponize your empathy against you. Let them. That's how you know the boundary was necessary. Love without respect is manipulation. And loyalty without boundaries is self-betrayal. So yes, you've changed. You're colder. Sharper. Stronger. And if they can't handle that version of you, it's because they were never truly with you, they were with the mask. Let it fall. You were taught to feel guilty for protecting your peace. You were conditioned to believe that detachment is cold, heartless, inhuman. But let me tell you this, the ones who win in life, the ones who truly lead, are the ones who master emotional detachment. Because not every battle is worth fighting. Not every emotional storm deserves your presence. Not every tear is your responsibility to wipe away. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop sacrificing your sanity for chaos that isn't yours to clean up. Carl Jung spoke of individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating both light and shadow. To detach is not to disconnect from life, it is to stop being swallowed by other people's storms. It is the ability to stand still in front of someone else's fire and not be burned by it. Detachment is clarity. It's the power to observe without being consumed. To love without losing yourself. To see manipulation without reacting to it. You don't need to be available 24/7. You don't need to respond to every crisis, every insult, every emotional outburst. Cold-blooded means, calm, calculated, controlled. That is your edge. That is your weapon. And that is why people will fear losing access to you once you've mastered it, because they know they can no longer pull your strings like they used to. Be kind, yes. Be generous, yes. But never again be emotionally enslaved. They called it cold. You call it freedom. People don't respect words. They respect standards. And every time you tolerate disrespect, manipulation, or emotional guilt-tripping, you reinforce one message. This is acceptable. Keep going. Being cold-blooded doesn't mean you stop loving, it means you stop allowing love to be a weapon used against you. It means when someone crosses a line, you don't explain yourself 10 times. You draw the boundary once, and if it's ignored, you disappear. Because silence speaks louder than begging. Because distance teaches louder than lectures. Carl Jung said, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. And once you accept your worth, not just intellectually but emotionally, you stop negotiating with those who drain your spirit. This is not about revenge. It's about self-respect. This is not about being cruel. It's about being clear. You don't have to yell to show power. You don't have to argue to prove your value. You just walk away, without apology, without drama, without hesitation. And in that moment, something shifts. They realize you're not afraid to lose them. That's when power returns to you. Being cold-blooded isn't emotional absence, it's emotional discipline. You don't tolerate what breaks your soul anymore. Not even from the ones you love. Your emotions are powerful. But they can also lie. Fear can dress itself as love. Guilt can disguise itself as loyalty. And nostalgia, that seductive voice from the past, can make you forget the pain someone caused you. That's why cold-blooded thinking is essential. It doesn't mean you kill emotion. It means you question it. You pause before you react. You analyze before you engage. You feel, but you don't become a slave to feeling. Carl Jung warned us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. You must learn to separate your inner truth from emotional noise. Just because you miss someone, doesn't mean they belong in your life. Just because you love them, doesn't mean they are good for your soul. Just because it hurts to let go, doesn't mean you should hold on. Cold-blooded clarity cuts through emotional fog. You start asking better questions. Is this person growing with me, or draining me? Is this connection empowering, or controlling? Do I feel safe, or do I feel trapped? Emotionally disciplined people don't suppress their feelings. They interrogate them. Because freedom comes not from feeling less, but from being ruled by truth, not by emotion. And when you stop reacting, and start discerning, you reclaim your power. That's cold-blooded. That's necessary. The moment you feel the need to explain yourself repeatedly, is the moment you've already lost leverage. Power doesn't explain. It moves. It acts. It decides, with clarity, not apology. One of the most emotionally exhausting traps is trying to justify your evolution to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Especially loved ones. Especially those who've built a version of you they can control, predict, and use. But here's the truth. When you grow, you become threatening. Not because you've harmed anyone, but because your growth exposes their stagnation. You stop laughing at their bitterness. You stop entertaining their guilt trips. You stop shrinking to fit in their old image of you. And suddenly, you're the problem. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them call you cold, heartless, distant. Because the moment you choose your peace over their approval, you break a silent contract. The contract that says you must always sacrifice your truth to keep others comfortable. Carl Jung said, "A man who has not passed through the inferno of his passions has never overcome them." When you stop explaining, you're not being cold. You're being clear. You are no longer seeking validation, you are operating from alignment. This is especially hard when it comes to family, old friends, or romantic ties. The more history you have, the harder it is to walk away. You feel obligated to stay, to explain, to fix it. But not everything broken needs to be repaired. Some things need to be buried. You don't owe anyone your energy. Especially when they only show up to drain it. There is strength in silence. There is dignity in walking away without burning bridges, but also without building new ones. You're not cold because you refuse to repeat yourself. You're not ruthless because you cut off draining dynamics. You're simply choosing you, unapologetically. This is what it means to step into your power. You stop defending your boundaries. You stop watering dead relationships. You stop negotiating your worth. And here's the twist. The moment you stop explaining, people either rise to meet you. Or fall away. Either way, you win. Because you're no longer trying to be understood. You're finally understanding yourself. That's not selfish. That's evolution. That's cold-blooded clarity, and you earned it. Becoming cold-blooded isn't about becoming cruel or unfeeling. It's about reclaiming your sovereignty, your power to protect your energy, your mind, and your soul. Too often, we mistake kindness for weakness. We believe that love means endless giving, endless explanations, endless sacrifice. But true love, especially self-love, demands something much stronger, boundaries that cannot be crossed, no matter the cost. Carl Jung said, "Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart." Who looks outside, dreams, who looks inside, awakes. Becoming cold-blooded means awakening to the reality that your inner peace is your most valuable asset. It's not negotiable. It's not a luxury. It's a necessity. When you own this cold-bloodedness, you stop begging for others to see your worth. You don't shrink your light for anyone's comfort. You stand firm, unapologetic, and unshaken. This power ripples through every area of your life. In business, you no longer accept disrespect masked as constructive criticism. In friendships, you release those who drain your joy under the guise of loyalty. In romance, you demand presence, respect, and truth, not half-hearted attempts or emotional games. Being cold-blooded with loved ones is often the hardest, because it demands you put yourself first when everyone else expects you to be last. But this isn't selfishness. It's radical self-respect. It's the kind of respect that says, I will not dim my fire to keep you warm. I will not sacrifice my sanity to save a broken narrative. I will not lose myself trying to fit into a story that no longer serves me. Remember, the people who truly love you will rise to meet the real you, not the version they wanted you to be. Those who can't will step aside, and that's their loss. Your cold-bloodedness is your armor. It's your freedom. It's your signal to the world that you are no longer available for manipulation, codependency, or emotional exhaustion. Stand tall in your power. Embrace your cold-bloodedness. And watch how your life transforms when you become unshakable. Because at the end of the day, the ultimate act of love is the one you give yourself. Becoming cold-blooded is not about turning into an unfeeling stone. It is about cultivating an unshakable inner warrior, a strength that stands firm amidst chaos, doubt, and manipulation. This inner warrior is your deepest resolve, the guardian of your center, your purpose, and your peace. When you develop this kind of cold determination, you aren't cold-hearted, you are steadfast, unbreakable. This inner warrior exists to protect you, not to harden you unnecessarily. It guards your energy, your boundaries, and your values against those who would seek to control, manipulate, or diminish you. Many mistake cold-bloodedness for cruelty or detachment, but in reality, it is the ability to stay grounded and composed when others try to unsettle you. It's a form of strength that says, I know who I am, and I will not be swayed. Think about this. When you remain unshaken by others' attempts to pull you off course, you automatically command respect, sometimes even fear, from those who thrive on control. Your calm confidence becomes a silent message, you are not to be manipulated or played with. You're a force to be reckoned with. But this doesn't mean you close off from love or empathy. The inner warrior is not a wall, but a shield, one that protects without alienating. It allows you to love fiercely, but also to say no firmly. It teaches you that your peace is sacred, and that protecting your soul's purpose is a higher priority than seeking approval. Carl Jung's ideas echo this truth. The journey to wholeness requires confronting our shadow and integrating all parts of ourselves. The inner warrior embraces this shadow with courage, recognizing that true strength comes from owning both light and darkness within. This balance creates the kind of cold-bloodedness that isn't about cruelty, but about clarity, resilience, and self-mastery. Remember, you weren't born to please everyone, you were born to protect your purpose. The cold-blooded warrior knows this deeply. They understand that maintaining their core, even if it means uncomfortable conversations or losing some relationships, is vital for their growth and mission. In practice, this means learning to stand firm when others challenge you emotionally or mentally. It means refusing to engage in toxic drama or manipulation. It means setting boundaries that some might find too harsh, but are essential for your sanity and progress. It means walking away from what no longer serves you without guilt or hesitation. This inner warrior grows stronger through every test, every betrayal, and every moment when you choose yourself over pleasing others. It is not about suppressing feelings, but about mastering them. The cold-bloodedness of the inner warrior is a calm fire, fierce yet controlled, powerful yet measured. So today, start cultivating that warrior inside. Stand unshaken in your truth. Protect your energy like a priceless treasure. Because the world doesn't need you to be a people pleaser, it needs you to be unbreakable. To truly become cold-blooded, especially with loved ones, is to embrace a radical form of freedom. It means freeing yourself from the chains of people-pleasing, emotional manipulation, and the exhausting need to be liked by everyone. This freedom is the ultimate form of self-respect and self-love. When you accept that being cold-blooded is a necessary armor, you begin to reclaim your power. You stop allowing others to drain your energy or dictate your worth. Instead, you make choices that serve your highest good, even if they are uncomfortable or unpopular. Many confuse cold-bloodedness with cruelty, but the truth is it is an act of kindness, to yourself first and foremost. It's a commitment to honor your boundaries, protect your mental and emotional health, and create a life where you are the priority. This kind of power brings fulfillment because it aligns you with your true self. You live authentically, not as a reflection of others' expectations, but as the creator of your own destiny. There is peace in knowing that you don't have to bend or break to keep the peace with others. Carl Jung once said, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." This choice, to embody your cold-blooded power, is a courageous step toward becoming who you truly are. You will find that with this strength comes deeper connections, not shallow relationships based on approval, but real, meaningful bonds built on respect and honesty. People will gravitate toward your confidence and clarity, drawn to your unwavering sense of self. In the end, becoming cold-blooded is less about being harsh and more about being whole. It's about balancing heart and mind, strength and compassion, vulnerability and resilience. So stand tall in your cold-blooded power. Protect your peace fiercely. Love boldly but without compromise. Your freedom, your fulfillment, and your destiny depend on it.